אז אמרה לאלוהי בעודי, אז אמרה לאלוהי בעודי, אהללה, אהללה. אז אמרה לאלוהי בעודי, אז אמרה לאלוהי בעודי, אז אמרה לאלוהי בעודי, אהללה, אהללה. אז אמרה לאלוהי בעודי. I'll sing to you, I'll praise to you, O source of all creation. We call your name, we sing your praise, O Holy One of blessing. Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. אז אמרה לאלוהי בעודי, אז אמרה לאלוהי בעודי, אהללה, אהללה. אז אמרה לאלוהי בעודי.
Bruchim habayim, welcome. It's good to have you here as we begin Shabbat together as the sun sets and we mark the beginning of our day of rest. We're here this week to celebrate Shabbat and to celebrate the bar mitzvah of Jack Weil, who's going to be called to the Torah tomorrow afternoon for the very first time. So Jack, can you bring your family up, your parents Greg and Jessica and your sister Izzy, to join us up on the bima to help us light the Shabbat candles? And I invite everyone to please rise.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kideshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Amen. Shabbat Shalom. Jack, you ready to get us started? All right, Jack is going to lead us in Kabbalat Shabbat. You may be seated. We turn to Sidor Lev Shalem to page 11. Let us go and sing to Adonai. Let us trumpet praise to our protector. Filled with thanks, let us greet God as we raise our voices in song. Lechuner Anana, page 11.
Adonai, lehuneranena, 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 Adonai. Naria, naria, letzor yishenu nekadma fana betoda. Naria, naria, letzor yishenu bizmirot naria lo. Lehuneranena, 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 Adonai. Lehuneranena, 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 Adonai.
The heavens shall be glad and the earth rejoice, the sea and its fullness roar, the meadows and all that grows in them exult, even the trees of the forest shall sing praise as Adonai comes. Page 14, the middle of the page at the red arrow, Yismechu Hashamayim.
Yismechu Hashamayim, Yismechu Hashamayim, Yismechu Hashamayim, V'tagel haaretz, Yiram Chayam, Yiram Hayam, Yiram Hayam, Umlo, Yiram Hayam, Yiram Hayam, Yiram Hayam, Umlo, Yismechu hashamayim. Yismechu hashamayim. Yismechu hashamayim. V'tagel haaretz.
Of page 20, the red arrow, Romamu.
Romemu Adonai Eloheinu ve'ishtachavu lehar kodsho. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu ve'ishtachavu lehar kodsho. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu romemu. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu romemu. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu ve'ishtachavu lehar kodsho. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu ve'ishtachavu lehar kodsho.
Turn to page 23 and we welcome the Shabbat Kala, the Shabbat bride with Lecha Dodi. We'll chant the first two stanzas on page 23, and then we flip to the end of Lecha Dodi on 25, and at that point we rise and we face the door of the sanctuary as we welcome in Shabbat. Page 23, Lecha Dodi.
Lecha lecha dodi, likra kala, pene Shabbat nekabela. Lecha lecha dodi, likra kala, pene Shabbat nekabela. Shamor v'zachor b'dibor echad, chishmiyanu el hameyuchad, Adonai echad, u'shemo echad. Lashem oti feret vili tehila la 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 lecha lecha dodi likra kala pene Shabbat nekabela lecha lecha dodi likra kala pene Shabbat nekabela likrat Shabbat lechu v'nelcha hi mekor haberacha marosh mikedem nesuchad sof ma'aseh b'machashava tehila la 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 lecha dodi likra kala pene Shabbat nekabela lecha dodi likra kala pene Shabbat nekabela. Boi v'shalom ater bala gam besumcha o b'tohala tov emunei am segula boi chala lila lecha dodi likra kala pene Shabbat nekabela lecha dodi likra kala pene Shabbat nekabela.
May be seated, Jack. Great job getting us started with Kabbalat Shabbat. We turn to page 27, a song for the day of Shabbat, Mizmor Shir Liyom HaShabbat.
Yai, lai, 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 yai, lai, 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 lai. Yai, lai, 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 lai. Yai, lai, 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 yai, lai, lai. Lai, 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 lai. Yai, lai, 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 yai, lai, 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 lai. Mizmor Shir Leyom HaShabbat. Mizmor Shir Leyom HaShabbat. Tov lehodot l'Adonai. Tov lehodot l'Adonai. Ulzamer l'shimcha elyon. Ulez ולזמר לשמך העליון. להגיד בבוקר חסדך ואמונתך בלילות, עלי עשור ועלי נבל, עלי היגיון וכינור. מזמור שיר ליום השבת. טוב להודות לאדוני, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמר לשמך עליון. צדיק התמר יפרח, כארז בלבנון יזכה, שתולים בבית אדוני, בחצרות אלוהינו יפריחון. עוד ינבו בשיבה, דשנים ורעננים יהיו, להגיד כי אשר אדוני צורי ולא הבלטה בו.
Page 29.
אדוני מלכי ולבש, לבש, אדוני עוזי תזר, אף תיקון תבל בל תימות. מקולות מים רבים, אדירים נשברי ים, אדיר במרום אדוני, עדותיך נמנו מלביתך נאווה קודש, אדוני לאורך ימים.
I invite everyone to please rise. Feel free to put your arm around the person next to you. Say hi to them if you haven't seen them without a mask before. And we share with all of the people we love, with our children, our family members, our friends, our community, the words of Berkat Kohanim, our ancient words of priestly blessing.
Yevarechecha Adonai ve'yishmerecha. Join your voices. Ken yehi ratzon.
May God bless you and keep you.
Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'chuneka. Ken yehi ratzon.
May God's Spirit shine upon you, and may God be gracious to you.
Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasim lecha shalom. Ken yehi ratzon yasim lecha shalom. Ken yehi ratzon yasim lecha shalom. Ken yehi ratzon.
May God's Spirit turn onto you, and may God grant you shalom, grant you peace. Ken yehi ratzon.
Ken yehi ratzon.
May be seated. We now turn to our prayer for healing, and we think of those in our lives in need of physical and spiritual well-being. Included in our prayers this Shabbat, we think of Rav Yaakov Chai ben Hadassah, Shimon ben Yaakov, Mordechai ben Naomi, Devorah bat Sarah, Hershel Yehoshua ben Malka, Perel bat Rezel, Dov ben Ita, Shmuel Yaakov ben Kalia ve'Ari, Devorah Rachel, Malka bat Sarah, Leib Yisrael ben Abraham Mitzipora, Aliza Meira bat Leah, Tzivia bat Chana, Elijah Avila, Yafa Fega bat Ziselbina, Kathy Berlin, Chaim Yitzchak ben Gittel Fagel, Chana Shifra bat Moshe Vebluma, Abraham David ben Liba, Daniel ben Yisrael, Sarah bat Chaya, Sarah bat Shendel, Bani Meyerson, Tova bat Rivka, Karen bat Yaakov Yerushalayim Cyril, Adina Miriam, Harry Kinney, Kevin Haffey, Ezer Pesach, Devorah bat Miriam, Zelda bat Yaakov and Miriam, Ben Sion Chai ben Rachel, Leah Liba bat Doba. If you'd like to include someone in the prayer today, I invite you to rise and share the names when I come to you. Okay. But Kol HaCholim and all those who are ill, Cantoristic leads us in the prayer for healing.
Let's join our voices together. Mi sheberach avotenu mikor habracha leimotenu. May the source of strength, who blessed the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Mi sheberach imotenu mikor habracha leavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
Page 30, I invite those in mourning or marking a yortzeit to rise and join me in the words of the mourner's Kaddish. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, bi'alma divera kirutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayechon uvyomechon uvchayei techol beit Yisrael, ba'agala uvizman kariv v'yimru amen. Yehi shemei Rabbah mevorach leolam olameo maya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yit'aleh v'yithalal shemei dekudsha brichu le'ela min kol berchata v'shirata tush bechata v'nechemata damiran bi'alma v'yimru amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'al kol yoshvei tevel v'imru amen. May be seated. Shabbat shalom. So 2 weeks ago, when I spoke about how we make decisions in the synagogue about things like COVID policies, I used the term humility. The idea that we make all decisions with a certain sense of humility. The idea that even if we think something is right, think something is correct, we should have in our heads that maybe we're wrong. Take that into consideration. Maybe I am wrong about something. And the term humility in Hebrew is called anava. And anava is an example of a midah, of a quality, of a character trait that Judaism teaches us to cultivate, to use in our lives, to grow in ourselves. And when we think of someone in Jewish tradition who is considered to model humility, we think of the character of Moshe, of Moses, who is described by the Torah as an ish anav, as a humble person. And there's a beautiful legend about the beginning of tomorrow's Torah portion that I find meaningful each and every year when we read it. Tomorrow, we read the beginning of the book of Vayikra, the beginning of the book of Leviticus, opening with the Parsha, Vayikra. And the Torah portion opens, Vayikra el Moshe, and God called to Moses. And if you look in a Torah scroll, Or if you look inside the Chumash in front of you at the very first word of Leviticus, you will see that it is made up of the letters Vav, Yud, Kuf, Resh, and Aleph. And if you look at the Torah scroll and you look at the Chumash, that final Aleph, the very first letter of the alphabet, the Aleph that ends the word Vayikra, is written in very small print. It's kind of hanging from the line on top of it, and it's clearly smaller than the other letters in the word, the other letters in the line. And this is a scribal tradition that goes back as long as we've been writing Sifrei Torah, as long as we've been writing Torah scrolls. We heard from a soferet, from a scribe, a couple of weeks ago who taught us about some of the scribal traditions that are passed down from one scribe to another. We don't know the original reason why this Aleph was written smaller, but there is, I shared, a beautiful legend that comes from Rabbi Yaakov ben Asher in his commentary, the Baal HaTurim. And he says that Moses, when Moses was writing down the Torah, didn't want to write that God called to Moses, that God called directly to him at that particular moment. So instead, he changed the word from Vayikra to Vayikar, and God happened upon Moses. God was in the Mishkan, in the temple. Moses happened to be walking by as God was looking for someone to talk to. Moses was just there at the right time. Well, God saw what Moses was doing. God saw that Moses was writing down the wrong word. And God said, I'm calling to you, Moses. I'm talking right to you. Nobody else. I want to talk to you. You're the one who's going to share what I have to say with everybody else. You're going to write Vayikra. You're going to write the real word in there so that everyone who reads Torah for the rest of Jewish history will know that I called to you. Well, Moses is unable to get over his humility, does something a little tricky. He doesn't exactly listen to God. He writes Vayikra. He writes in the word, God called to Moses, but he hides the Aleph. He makes it very small. So he says, maybe if you're not looking carefully, you'll miss that Aleph. Maybe you won't see that Aleph and you'll think God just happened upon Moses. Maybe that Aleph will disappear over time and people won't be talking about how great Moses was centuries, millennia after he lived. And so when we open the Torah each year and read God called to Moses, we see that tiny Aleph that's still there, a reminder both of Moses' humility, that he didn't want to be known for being the special person that he was, but also for the fact that he was that special person who was able to talk to God, who was able to lead the Israelites. I think that small Aleph, that little dose of humility, is something that is so important for all of us to cultivate. Because when we admit that we have little Alephs in our names, we're admitting that we don't know everything. We're admitting that somebody else might know something that we don't, that we might have something else to learn. And showing that humility, showing that openness, is what allows us to learn from others. It's what allows us to enter into relationships with other people, to coexist with others, saying that I don't know everything, I don't have all the answers. Maybe you know some that I don't. And so without meaning to, Moses teaches us at the beginning of the book of Vayikra to pay attention to our moments of having a small Aleph, the moments when we're not exactly sure what's right, and to be willing to turn to other people for help, to talk to our friends, to our confidants, to our teachers, and ask them what the right path forward is. Shabbat Shalom. We continue with the Mariv, the evening service, on page 39. Please rise for the Baruch Hu.
Ya la 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 la, 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 ya la 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 la. Baruchu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai. Let Yalla lai lai lai, 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 yalla lai lai lai.
May be seated. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, ruler of the universe, whose word brings the evening dusk, whose wisdom opens the gates of dawn, whose understanding changes the day's division, whose will sets the succession of seasons and arranges the stars in their places in the sky, who creates day and night, who rolls light before darkness and darkness from before the light.
Umavir yom umevi laila, umavdil ben yom uvein laila, Adonai tzevaot shemo, El chai v'kayam, תמיד ימלוך עלינו לעולם ועד, ברוך אתה אדוני, המריב הרבי.
Amen. Page 40.
אהבת עולם את ישראל עמך, אהבת תורה מצוות לגמור שבטים אתה לימדת מכיר לאלוהינו בשלבים. יהם חיינו ויורך ימינו, ובהם נגע יומם ולילה, בבטך תציר ממנו לעולמים, ברוך אתה אדוני, אוהב עמו ישראל.
Amen.
שמע ישראל, אדוני אלוהינו, אדוני אחד. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבבך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך. ואם שמוע תשמע זאתי אשר אנוכי מצווה אתכם היום לבד. אדוני אלוהיכם אמת.
Then Moses, Miriam, and the people of Israel joyfully sang this song to you, Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, top of page 44.
ומלכותו ברצון קיבלו עליהם משה ומרים ובני ישראל, לחנו שירה בשמחה רבה, ואמרו כולם מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך באלים, מי כמוך נהדר בקודש, מי כמוך נהדר, נורא תהילות אוסיף אלה, אוסיף נורא תהילות אוסיף אלה, אוסיף אלה, מלכותך ראו בניך, בוקע הים לפני משה, זה אנו ואמרו אדוני ונאמר כי פטרנו את יעקב וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו ברוך אתה אדוני גאל ישראל.
Amen. Allow us, Adonai, our God, to sleep peacefully. Awaken us to life, O Sovereign. Blessed are you who spreads the canopy of peace over us, over all the people Israel, and over Yerushalayim, over Jerusalem. Page 45, Hashkivenu.
Hashkivenu. Hashkivenu, Adonai, Eloheinu, Leshalom, Leshalom. Hashkivenu, Adonai, Eloheinu, Leshalom, Leshalom, V'ha'amidenu, Malkeinu, L'chaim, Chaim, Ufros aleinu, Sukkot, Shlomecha, Shlomecha. When I lay down at night, when I rest my head, when I rest my head, oh God, watch over me. Oh God, watch over me. And when the morning comes, we thank Adonai and pray for peace. Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu L'shalom, V'hamidenu Malkeinu L'chaim. Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu L'shalom, V'hamidenu Malkeinu L'chaim. Ushmor tzitenu vohenu l'chaim u'l'shalom me'ata v'ad olam ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha baruch ata Adonai haporei sukat shalom aleinu v'al kol amo Yisrael v'al Yerushalayim.
Amen. Page 46, please rise for Vishamru.
V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם, אותי לעולם, אותי לעולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. וביום השביעי שבת בי נפש, שבת בי נפש, שבת בי נפש. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה, בעלמא דברה חירותי וימליך מלכותי, בחייכון וביומכון, ובחיי כל בית ישראל, בגלה ובזמן קריב יאמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מבורך, לעולם ולעולמיה. יתברך, יתברך וישתבח ויפאר בתרומה ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי קודשה בריחו לעילם מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה תמירן בעלמא יאמרו אמן.
We spend the next few moments in silent prayer with the words of the Amidah, beginning on page 47.
When you've completed your Amidah, you may be seated. Yehu liratzon imre fi, Yehu liratzon imre fi, vegion libi lefanecha, Adonai tzuri vegoali. May the words of my mouth and meditations of my heart be acceptable before you, O Lord, my rock and my redeemer. Oseh shalom bimromav, uyaseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael. Ve'imeru, ve'imeru, amen.
Page 54, Kaddish Shalem.
יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה, ועלמא דברה חירותי וימליך מלכותי בחייכון ובמיכון ובחיי כל בית ישראל, בגלה ובזמן קריב יאמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מבורך, לעולם ולעולמיה. יתברך, יתברך וישבח ויפאר בתרומה ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתהלל שמי קודשה בריחו לעילם מן خبرختا وشيرتا جبرتا ونخمتا دميران بياما بيمرو
آمين.
تيركابات سلطان وطن زغو إسرائيل قدام أبوهن بيشمعي بيمرو
آمين.
يهيشم الرب من شمعي وخملين وقو إسرائيل بيمرو
آمين.
نوسه شالوم بيمرو ماف وياسه شالوم علينو بيالقو إسرائيل بيالقو يوشبي تيبل بيمرو آمين آمين.
Page 55, we rise for Kiddush. Jack, I'm going to invite you to come on back up and lead us in the Kiddush on that side. And I'd like to invite anyone younger than Bar Bat Mitzvah to join me over here for Kiddush. There you go, Izzy. Know what to do.
Baruch atah Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'ratavanu v'shabbat kodsho b'yacha uvratzon hinhilanu zikaron l'maaseh bereshit hihu yom tehila l'mikra kodesh zecher l'tziat Mitzrayim kivanu v'acharta ve'otanu kidashta mikol ha'amim v'shabbat kodeshecha be'achava uvrason Kinhaltanu Baruch atah Adonai Mekadesh HaShabbat.
Amen. L'chaim.
I'll take that. Thank you. Good job. Thank you, Izzy. Continue page 56 with Aleinu. Good, Jack.
Alinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית שלא עשנו כגויי הרצון ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה שלא שם חלקנו כהם וגורלנו ככל המונם ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסר הארץ ומשאבים קרוב בשמיים ממעל ושכינתו זו בגובה מרומים הוא אלוהינו אין עוד אמת מלכנו אפס ולטוב כך כתוב בתורתו וידעת היום והשבות אל לבבך כי אדוני הוא האלוהים בשמיים ממעל ועל הארץ מתחת עינות. ככתוב בתורתך אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו
May be seated. We turn to page 58 for the mourner's Kaddish. This coming week, we observe the Yort sites of Joseph Newman, Hordy Genzier, Karen Bazar, Cecilia Feldman, Benjamin Fratkin, Samuel Weber, Rose Seed, Herman Grossman, Leila Chernotsky, Marion Glaser, Blondell Arazi, Henry Tager, Benny Kozalczyk, Bess Oppenheimer, Jack Greenfield, Alfred Kessler, Marvin Gavelber, Isidore Krasno, Ceci Ransenberg, Harold Rubinson, Gregory Mogilevsky, Renee Berlinski-Sutker, Mary Pollack, Rose Newworth, Errol Cohen, and Thomas Formica. We also extend condolences to Wendy Cornegay and Eric Sklut, who were in the period of Shloshim, 30 days following the death of their mother, Barbara Sklut. Page 58, Mourner's Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah v'yalma divera kirutei v'yamlich malchutei v'chayechon uvyomechon uv'chayei dechol beit Yisrael ba'agala uvizman kariv v'imru amen yehi shemei Rabbah mevorach leolam ulamei omaya yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnasei V'yitadar, v'yit'aleh, v'yit'halal, shemei dekusha, brichu, le'ela min kol berchata v'shirata, tush bechata v'nechemata, damiran v'yalma v'yimru, amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yimru, amen. Oseh shalom bimromav, Hu yaseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'al kol yoshvei tevel v'imru. Amen. May be seated. Happy to call on our president, Teresa Brenner. That's what you look like. I thought you were someone else this whole time.
I know. It is so great, as the rabbi noted, to see smiles behind the masks and everyone's eyes and faces as a whole. It's delightful. So Shabbat Shalom, everyone. What a beautiful beginning to Shabbat. Mazel tov, Jack, on leading us so well in Kabbalat Shabbat this evening, and to your parents, Jessica and Gregory, and to your entire family and friends. We all look forward to celebrating your bar mitzvah tomorrow evening at 5:30, and everyone's invited, both in person and online, to celebrate with Jack and his family. Thank you also to Rabbi Walk and Cantor Lissig for leading us in services, to Adam Ward, our pianist, and to Sean Seifert, our audiovisual tech. We are always seeking Shabbat greeters. Michael can tell you what a delight it is, as can Bunny, so please sign up online and join in greeting congregants and guests as they come into services. A reminder also to register for Shabbat morning babysitting so that we have the appropriate number of sitters, and also for security reasons. Do so by noon each Friday. For the link to pre-register, see your weekly email blast or the Temple Israel calendar, or simply call the Temple office during the week. We have a calendar full of events, just 3 to highlight this week. The first is the Megillah, according to Taylor Swift Purim Spiel, which will be Wednesday evening, March 16th. The Megillah reading and the Purim Spiel is open to everyone without registration and begins at 6:15 p.m. The second thing is to consider participating in one way or another in Yom Gimilut Hasidim. We usually do this over Martin Luther King's Day weekend, but this year, Jonathan and Tess Berger had the foresight to move it to Sunday, March 27th. There are lots of different ways to give tzedakah and participate. So again, go online and sign up for something that interests you. And the third thing is, as part of Yom Gimilut Hasidim, we are also sponsoring Abraham's Tent, where we host some of our homeless neighbors at Queen's University. So this week on March 15th and 16th, Temple Israel volunteers will be assisting with the social action outreach, and we do need some more volunteers. So please sign up. The opportunity to sign up, again, is in the weekly email blast, or simply call David Rosenthal. To sign up for all these events and to see all of our happenings with your Temple Israel family, please do see your weekly email blast and website, as well as the written Shabbat announcements. Services resume tomorrow morning at 9:30 a.m. Junior congregation is at 10:30 a.m. And don't forget to celebrate with Jack and his family tomorrow night at 5:30 p.m. Shabbat Shalom.
Shalom. Thank you, Teresa. Just a note for Jack's bar mitzvah tomorrow, mincha service, the afternoon service at 5:30, will take place in person here in the Temple Israel Sanctuary. It will also be streamed, so if you are a regular used to attending on Zoom on Shabbat afternoon, either come in person here in the sanctuary or join us on StreamSpot. We turn back to page 5 and conclude our service tonight with Shalom Aleichem.
Shalom Aleichem Malachi Asharit Malachi Elyon Mimeh הקדוש ברוך הוא. שלום עליכם מלאכי השרת, מלאכי העליון, ממלך מלאכי המלאכים. הקדוש ברוך הוא, איי 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 בואכם לשלום, מלאכי השלום, מלאכי עליון, ממלך מלאכי המלאכים. הקדוש ברוך הוא, ברכוני לשלום, מלאכי השלום, מלאכי עליון, ממלך מלאכי המלאכים. קדוש ברוך הוא, ברכוני לשלום, מלאכי השלום, מלאכי עליון, ממלך מלאכי המלאכים. קדוש ברוך הוא, איי 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 צאתכם לשלום, מלאכי השלום, מלאכי עליון, ממלך מלאכי המלאכים. הקדוש ברוך הוא.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom, Mazel Tov.
You got it, RJ.
Okay, RJ.